back. It's been a little bit. So, Mega Warlord here. We're going to continue with the next part of the instructional series. And we're going to start talking about morale. Okay? I can take care of this whole thing in about one video, so just stay tuned and we'll be good to go. So, morale is a type of characteristic test. It's a leadership check. Now, if you remember correctly, characteristic tests, you have to roll equal to or lower to pass. The leadership is on 2d6. It's on 2 dice. So, that's how that one's pretty much done. Now, I'm going to tell you about some reasons that you might need to take morale. There's really 3. And there's really only 3. The first one is if you suffer 25% casualties in any one phase. Okay? Any phase. Movement phase, psychic phase, shooting phase, not the assault phase. Okay? That's different. The second reason is because of somebody's special rule. There's some special rules that'll say, hey, this thing takes a morale check. Psychic powers do that. War gear does that. Kind of happens. And the third one is in the assault phase, but only if you lose an assault. Alright, you don't take morale otherwise. Only if you lose an assault. Okay? So, like I said, it's a characteristic test. Pass, fail. Pass is on a, your leadership. Whatever that value is. It's the highest in the squad, by the way, unless the special rule interacts. So if you've got 5 guys with leadership 5 and 1 with leadership 10, you need to roll a 10. So, or less. So that's how that works. If you fail, things happen. Alright? One note. There's this thing called insane heroism. Okay? If you roll snake eyes, you pass, no matter what. Okay, it's pretty sweet. So that's pretty good. So I'm going to go over some modifiers as we start through this. There's a couple of modifiers. Special rules can modify your leadership. And then there's also the loss of an assault can modify your leadership. So I'll go over how those work. Some things that work, some things that don't. And one thing to keep in mind, there is a very uniquely applicable special rule called fearless. If something is fearless, it automatically passes morale checks. That is morale checks, not leadership checks. So if you're called to make a morale check, you pass. If you need to make a leadership check, it's different. But enough of me talking, so let's get to some models on the table and I'll show you some of the ways this works. Alright guys, so let's go over a little bit of this morale phase. What I've got set up for you here is I have some killicans and I've got some cultists. Okay, so to help keep the dice from just messing with us, alright, I'm going to do just a couple of dice rolls and we're going to go with it. So we're going to assume these guys have big shooters. That's what's going on. So we're going to fire some killican big shooters into the cultists. Okay, being orcs, they're ballistic skill of 3 because they're grots. Alright, so they're going to need what to hit? Correct, force. Alright, I'm going to keep quizzing you. You're going to keep getting quizzed. So they're going to need force to hit. They're going to need strength 5, toughness 3. They're going to need 2 wounds. There we go. So I got 2 wounds. And being the cultists that they are, they don't get any saves. Now, it just so happens that this cultist squad, okay, is in fact 8 strong. Do you see that? No, you didn't see that. See, good. So it's 8 strong. Alright. And that's going to cause, in the shooting phase, 25% casualties. It's equal to or less, okay, for the 25% casualties. Now, because, 2 of 8 is 25%. Math. So, they're going to have to take a morale check. Ready? Here we go. Leadership, 2d6. Alright, now I rolled a 5, so that actually passed. That means nothing happens. That's important. If a morale check passes, yay, move on with your life. Okay? Let's say they rolled a 10. So they failed. Here's what happens when you fail a morale check. Okay, as long as it's outside the assault phase. We talked about sweeping advance. In the assault phase, that happens first, and then this. So we have a fallback move. Now usually it's 2d6. Certain things like bikers and jet bikers, jump infantry, those guys will go an extra d6, like 3d6. But in this case, cavalry as well, they'll go 2d6, okay, toward your board edge. Now remember this, you only have 1 board edge. Even if you deploy in a corner or something, you have 1 board edge. It's usually the long one, alright, which is just off screen up here. That you see my hand shadows. So, it's towards your board edge. So they're going to fall back 2d6. In this case, they're going to fall back 6 inches. That's every single model in the unit goes directly back 6 inches. This ignores difficult terrain. It does trigger dangerous terrain should you move through it. And there we go. That's a fallback move. It's really pretty easy. Okay. Now, there are some effects to when you're falling back. Okay. Namely, you cannot run. No, you cannot run. Okay. If you decide to shoot while you're falling back, you may pick a target at will, but you can only fire snapshots. Okay, not a big deal. If you're called on to take a pinning test, or you wish to go to ground, no. You automatically pass pinning tests, and you cannot go to ground while falling back. So, that's some of the restrictions. Now, the big one, though, is if you get assaulted. Okay? So, if someone declares an assault on you while you're falling back, you have to test to regroup. Okay, and I'll go over that in the next one. If you don't regroup, okay, let's say that they don't pass their regroup save, they are just removed. All of them. Gone. Piff, poof, no rolls, no see if you get there, done. Okay? They're just completely gone. Alrighty? So, that's what it means. Alrighty? So, there's a couple of things about being assaulted falling back. I'll do that in the group phase. But that's it with falling back. Now, there is some instances where this can be a little hairy. Let me show you. Okay, I'm going to move these guys out. I'm going to bring in some guests. Alright, these are our stormtroopers. Old school stormtrooper guardsmen. Okay? Now then, let's say that we're in the middle of a game, and these stormtroopers have foolishly dropped right in the middle of some chaos lines. Alright, so I got this cultist squad coming up here. Alright, I'm going to have Typhus, because he's scary. Alright, I'm going to have some Terminators here. Now, as you can see, okay, these guys are pretty well screwed, but here's what happens. Let's say that these guys, let's say there was 4 of them, and they lost 2. So that's over 25%, right? 50%. So they're called on to take a morale check, and they fail. Well, here's the thing. I'm going to roll a 2d6 for fallback, and I'm going to get a 7. Now, if I go straight backwards, I'm running into models. Well, okay. Well, if I go sideways, I'm running into models. I can't go any direction at all without doubling back. So I can't really go like this. No, I can't do that. All right, so I can't go any direction without running into models. I am what's called trapped. It's very rare. It's actually very rare for you to be trapped, and I'll show you why in a second. If you are trapped, you can't go in any direction without running into models, and you're removed. Okay, now, note, there have been in the past a couple of rules debates about how this works, but I'm going to go with the most widely accepted one, okay? So, let's look at this scenario. See, the Terminators weren't here. And these guys have to fall back. And you might think, well, yeah, Omega Warlord, you can't go backwards. Alright, you can't do that because you're going to go back and then go up and you're doubling back and you're trapped. Okay, here's the thing. If you can't go in any direction, alright, without getting there, then you're trapped. So these guys could go forward and over and around and yada 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 and go off the board. So that is accepted as they are not trapped. Like I said, the other way to play it is you have to fall either laterally or directly back. If at any point in case you have to go forward from your table edge, you're considered trapped. I've seen that one played and it happens more often, if that's the case. But yeah, that's the way most people play it. Oh, I have an opening. Here we go. So that's the idea as far as falling back. Right? And that's trapped. So now I'm going to show you how to do regrouping. Okay? So I'm going to use the cultists as an example. So these cultists that I pushed down right here, you know, they're only lowly cultists. They aspire to one day be maybe a modified demon or some sort of sacrifice because, you know, they're cultists. But they're falling back. Okay, now we're going to test to regroup. Here's how a regroup test works. Basically, you take a leadership test. And if you fail, you continue your fallback move. It's the same as before. 2d6 toward your board edge. Going 3. And it can be as small as 2. Okay. Now if you pass, like if I rolled the 3 to pass, here's what happens. Okay, and let me put a note on this, unless you're Space Marines, because they're special. Now here's what happens. Or unless you have, and they shall know no fear. That's the rule. They get a 3-inch move in any direction, not slowed by difficult terrain. So I want to take 3 inches, I want to go this way. Alright, and that's the only move they can do once regrouped. You cannot launch assaults, you can shoot, but it's still only snapshots. Okay, so that's what you can do once you've regrouped. And that's it, it's simple. But, you see these 5 cultists here? There's another little thing that you gotta be aware of. Okay? Let's say these 5 cultists were in a unit of 30. Because you can do that, it's fun. Alright, you're now under 25% of your starting value. Alrighty? If they were a unit of 20 and you lost 1, now you're under, 25%. But let's say they're a unit of 30, so they're under 25% of the starting value. That's no normal leadership test now, they're really scared because, you know, 75% of their buddies are bleeding out on the battlefield. So they have to roll snake eyes. It doesn't matter what you roll. It could be a 2. Correction, 3. You have to roll a 2. Okay? You're not going to pass. You have to roll snake eyes. You're definitely not going to pass with that. Look at that. Somebody remind me later to tell Fabian to roll these. They rolled some 6s. Okay? So, you're not going to pass. You have to, you've got to roll snake eyes if you're below 25% of your starting unit size. Okay? Now, remember how I said there's something special about being assaulted while regrouping? So they're falling back, and these guardsmen get a little cheeky, and they're like, "Hey, here we go. We're going to assault them." Now, even if they're below 25%, then it's a normal leadership. Okay, so they can roll. What's there? A 7, not a 9. Okay, let's see if I can get to something below a 7, not an 11. Hey, Fabian, you need to use these dice. They're rolling high. There we go. There's a 4. All right, so we've got a 4 here. Now, at that point, they regroup. Okay, it's not a normal, you know, you have to get snake eyes kind of thing. Alrighty. That's really, truly about it for the morale. It's you take the test. If you fail, you fall back. If you're trapped, it's bad. If you try to get assaulted, you better roll well, okay? Or maybe in your case, not well, depending on your point of view. So, but that's really about it. Now, like I said, fearless units, they don't, that doesn't happen to them. Imperium characters, mainly Space Marines that have, and they shall know no fear. They don't have to roll a regroup, they automatically regroup, and they can choose to stand still and count as being standing still and don't have to fire snapshots kind of thing. So that can be really beneficial if you're wanting to fail morale checks and get out of stuff. Alright, but that's basically morale. There's really nothing crazy about it. You'll be forced to take it. It's not its own phase. You have to take it at the end of every phase. But I really hope you like it. I hope it's pretty clear. Again, if you got any questions, try to check me out in the comments. See if I can answer what I can. But like us, share, subscribe us. I will tell you this, the next video is going to concern characters and how they interact with everything we've learned so far. So if you got some characters in your army, which all of you do, or at least you should, then you'll learn how to use them better, right? So like, share, subscribe. I'll catch you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Omega Warlord out.